Hi, and welcome to Dave's Think Tank. If you've purchased an Arduino and have my software for the Star Trek or the Flash Gordon installed on it, you may or you may not know that I've been releasing regular updates for both these programs. Rule changes, new light patterns, timing improvements, bug fixes, new self-tests. In this video I'm going to go over how you can obtain the latest update and how to install it in your pinball. Your first step is to get the latest version of my software from GitHub. You can probably find a link to it somewhere in the documentation. I'll leave one in the video description, but it's not that difficult to type in. It is github.com/Dave's Think Tank. And there I am. Now select the software you're looking for, probably either a Flash Gordon or a Bally Star Trek. Let's go with Flash Gordon. And here you'll find all of the latest files as well as how long it's been since they were updated. Anything from a few minutes to months or years. The main program files are these ones with the version number right in the name. The numbers are also the date I created the files, December 2025 in this case, if that wasn't obvious. You can check it against the files you have already to see if you need to do an update. The .ino file is the main program file. .h is a program header file. Manual.pdf is the manual. And sounds.zip is the sound file. And note that Star Trek does not give you the sound files here. There are too many and GitHub doesn't want to host them, so I've provided a link to a Google Drive. Just look down here in the README information. And speaking of the README file, you may want to look through this. There's a lot of information on downloading, storing, and compiling files, although most of that is also covered in the manual and usually much more thoroughly. There's also a version history here telling you all the changes the program has gone through. Now, to download everything, just click on the green Code button, then click on Download Zip. All of these files will then be downloaded. So let's look in the directory to find these files. For me, it automatically goes into a folder called Downloads and automatically unzips it. If yours is still in a zip file with the extension zip, you'll need to unzip it. To unzip a file on my computer, I right-click it and say open with archive utility. The process may be slightly different on a Windows computer. We'll have to do that with a sound file, but let's save that for later. So to organize your Arduino files, I suggest you create a directory like this, called Arduino, and within that I have a couple of directories called, one called Star Trek and one called Flash Gordon. We can see all the different iterations this software has gone through. I've set up FG 2025 P12 like this with all the downloaded files. I recommend making a separate folder every time you download, keeping the new files separate from the older ones. Just create a folder called FG 2025 P12 and copy all the files into it. Let's demonstrate that. Okay, I'm going to go back into the Arduino and I'm going to create a folder here. Let's say File, New Folder, and I'm going to call it FG 2025 P12 and copy all of the files into it. Drag and drop. And that's done. Now, the name of the new folder is important. FG 2025 P12. It has to be the same as the name on this .ini file within it, FG 2025 P12. And this is a requirement of the Arduino software compiler, and it will not work if these names are not the same. They made it that complicated just so that I would have to stop and explain it all to you. Now, this sound file needs to be unzipped. On my computer, I just right-click, open with, archive utility, and it creates a directory containing all of those files that were in it. I try not to change or add to the sound files very often, as they're kind of a pain to update in the pinball machine, so you'll usually find the sound files don't need to be updated. Seeing a recent date in the name is a good clue that there is a change. If you sort by date modified, you'll find there were a couple of recent changes. And more on updating those later. If you're updating the Star Trek software, you may want to check the latest sound files. You can find a link in the manual in the section titled Software and Sound File Installation. This takes you to a Google Drive where you can find all the Star Trek sounds. If you click on Date Modified, it sorts them by date, and we can see that there haven't been any new files added since May 2025, so you likely don't need to update them. In case there are some new files though, you want to shift click on the first and the last, then right click and download. Just move them to a folder on your computer for now. For both Star Trek and Flash Gordon, no music files are included for copyright reasons. I have a separate video that goes into detail on where you can find the music and how to add it to the game. I'll have a link at the end of the video as well as in the video description. Now for this next step, you're going to need the Arduino C++ compiler. It's called the Arduino IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment. And if you don't have it already, just go into Google, type in Arduino IDE, download. And download it. Find the version that you need and download it. It's free, but they may ask for a donation. Now, just find the program in your applications and run it. Now find the file and open it. Documents, Arduino, Flash Gordon, FG 2025 P12, and FG 2025 P12.ino. For the Flash Gordon, you may need to make some changes to the software before you compile it. If you go to the main program, FG 2025 P12.ino, and down a few lines, you find a section called Operator Game Adjustments. In here you'll find instructions for setting up your sound card and for setting up your strobe lamp. Now let's assume you have a GTO board and an original Xenon strobe lamp. This says in RPU config.h, define exactly one of RPU OS use S&T, RPU OS use wave trigger 1P3, and you'll find it down around line 60. It also says if you're using a GTO board, you should define RPU OS use S&T and use extended sounds below. So we can see use extended sounds is already defined. So let's go to config.h. We'll go down about 60 lines. And we can define RPU OS use S&T, this line here, by deleting those two slashes. And now we have to comment out the wave trigger by putting in two slashes. Any row with two slashes at the beginning is considered a comment and is ignored by the program. So you can see we've now defined the S&T variable as well as the extended sounds back here as it says in the instructions, and so we have set it up for GTO board. By following these instructions, you can set up your own Arduino for a GTO, wave trigger, or original Squawk and Talk board. Now, let's look at the instructions for setting up the strobe. If you have a strobe lamp in your back box, you need to tell the program what type it is. Go to RPU config.h again, find RPU strobe type, which is around line 90. Follow the instructions you find there. Here's line 90. RPU strobe type is currently set to 3, which is an incandescent or LED light. If you've replaced your strobe with an LED light or an incandescent light, leave that at 3. If you've purchased an incandescent LED strobe lamp, it is probably type 4, so change that to a 4. I said it was going to be an original xenon tube strobe, which is 2. You can just put in a 2. You also have an always on and always off option if one of these works better with your machine. Now for the Star Trek, we don't have to make any of these changes because it only works with a wave trigger and does not have a strobe lamp. But if you've added music in the past, you'll need to modify your software to let it know. To find out more about adding music, I've created a separate video. You can find a link at the end of this video or in the video description. Let's load in the Star Trek software. Go into the file st2025p12.h, and way down at the bottom are all the sound file groups. So you want to find background music, which will have the number 181 repeated 7 times. 181 is the bridge sounds file, so this line is telling it no matter what music I ask for, just play the bridge sounds. If you've added music to your game, you want to comment this out by placing 2 slashes at the beginning of the line. Then uncomment the line above it. You can see it has the file numbers 181, which is the bridge sounds, plus 182, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which should correspond to music files on your wave trigger micro SD card, assuming you've added music. Down a bit lower, right at the very end, we have BG minigame 1 equals 181 and BG minigame 2 equals 181. And both of them set to bridge sounds. So we want to comment those out. and remove the comments from the front of these two lines. Minigame 1 will now play the music 189, and Minigame 2 will now play the music 190. And again, this assumes you've added the music. Again, there's a separate video that covers adding music with a link at the end of this video or in the video description. So that should be all the changes necessary. Let's verify that our changes will compile. You have to select the Arduino type here. You have to select other board and port. And we're going to want Omega 2560, so you type in Mega, and here it is. It shows up already. Click OK, and to verify that it compiles properly, you click this check mark. And this couple of messages shows up. There are no error messages, so we're good. So, next step, we need to upload the software to the Arduino. Now, if you have a laptop computer, you can do it directly. If not, you'll have to just unplug any cables, unplug the Arduino. You can carry it over to your computer to attach it to the computer. Now, to do this with a laptop, we have a cable coming out of the Arduino here. We can plug this into the laptop. Make sure the pinball is turned off. And make sure there's this connector called switch. Make sure there's a jumper across there. So let's try plugging this in. And just ignore all the lights that come on. And any sounds you may hear, that's perfectly normal. Okay, the next thing we have to do, we have to tell it. Okay, select board and port. Again, the board is Mega 2560. And the port, if you don't know what port, just unplug. And the one that disappears is the one that you want. Plug it back in. Okay, so that is the one. Ignore any sounds. Click on OK. Now, this is the upload button. It's compiling, done compiling, uploading. And that's all there is to it. The update's done. Now, in case there were any new or modified sounds to be added to your machine, you need to update either the wave trigger or the GTO, whichever you have installed in your machine. What you have to do is remove the micro SD card. Both of them are the same. You press down, it pops up. Get a hand underneath it in case you drop it down that big hole there. And now you need a micro SD card reader. And it might look like something like this, or it might look something like this. If you have a connector for one of these in your computer. But if not, this, let's see, how does that work? This slips in there like that. Now I need to plug the micro SD card into your computer, any USB port. Open that. Now we need to find the find the sound files. Arduino FG 2025 P12. Here's the sounds. And we determined that these two are new files. Drag and drop them onto the card. If you have a GTO, it'll have a bunch of directories here, including one called Flash Gordon. Don't put any files in there. Those are your originals as you receive them from GTO. You want to put them in here. So let's just check on those two files that they got in here correct. 1711 tick and the other one was 1698 pathetic earthlings. Make sure that there aren't any duplicates. If there were two 1698s in here, the new one and the old one, you'd have to delete one, but it looks like we're fine. So that's it. We're good. Last step. We need to put the micro SD card back into the wave trigger or GTO. Okay, slip it in there and gently press it back down into place. And we're done. So, let's play a game. Okay, new game starts with a skill shot. You get 300 for the A or B, or 3,000 for the saucer, just like the regular game. But if you hit the flashing B, you get an additional 3,000. And for every time you hit the rebound, your score doubles. So, I think my best shot here is just kind of get it up and over into the B. Skill shot. Now the game proceeds pretty much like a normal game.
Fire all faces.
Some different light patterns.
Arm photon torpedoes. Fire all faces. Lasers on stop.
Okay, I have to go for the A. It's pretty much the same shot, up and over. Oh. Did not get the A, but I got double 3,000 for 6,000 points. Try for that A. There we go.
Photon torpedoes, fire.
Perfect.
Fire all faces.
Okay, I want to get up to 150 for my first challenge. So we're just going for the B again. I think it's just up and over. Nope. Nope. Oh, that's another way to get it. Okay, I'm gonna get 150. Get my first challenge.
Sensors are picking up a Klingon battle cruiser.
Okay, so I got 5 flashing lights, 5 targets. Each one is a Klingon vessel. No skill shot. Haven't hit anything yet. There we go. That's one. That's 2. Oh. Okay.
Charlie, beat me in.
That's always brutal. Okay, I've got to go for the... Go for the B.
Arm photon torpedoes.
Didn't make it.
Fire all phases.
Okay, I'm trying to get to 250 for my next challenge. I think my best bet here is to bounce here, hit the rebound, and back into the saucer. That will give me a B and a double. So let's give that a shot. Nope. Oh, come on.
Photon torpedoes, fire. Fire all phases. Number 2 shield is gone, sir.
Okay, I have to get to that 250. $6,000 points.
Arm photon torpedoes.
I made it to 250 anyway.
Fire all phases.
Okay, I've got 1 minute to hit the 4 targets over here, drop targets. I just wasted 7 seconds. Nope, not gonna hit anything.
Try again.
If you do really badly, Captain Kirk tells you to try again. Gives you another chance.
Arm photon torpedoes.
Whew.
Fire all phases.
Same player shoots again. Oh, come on. Get in there. Yes. Skill shot. It's definitely skill, not luck.
Photon torpedoes. Fire all phases.
It's a big galaxy, Mr. Scott.
Okay, let's try the old up and over. Perfect. 6,000 points.
torpedoes. Fire all phases. Mr. Spock,
Captain,
pull ahead. Walk back to one.
walk back to one, Captain.
Oh, 360,000. Not a terrible game.